On this episode of That Kingsville Podcast, it's the first one of 2025. We're back.
Yep.
Is it season 5?
Really?
5.
How are we still doing this?
I know. People listen now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Us.
Gary, it's
Did we
season
start?
5, right? 4?
4.
Oh!
I was going to say, this is 4.
No, it's 2025. That's
Well,
right.
technically, April would be the start of
Close
season.
enough. Whatever. We still got people.
Start of season 4.
The
We're
demographic.
currently in season 3. Right?
Well,
wait,
depends.
when-
if you're going by a calendar,
What-
yes, this is the start of season 4.
What is our agreed to nomenclature?
This is just the intro, guys. Let's get to it.
Great way to kick off the new year.
Oh boy! All right, well, we're gonna recap budget 2025 because last episode we talked about that.
Money.
We'll talk a little bit about what happened over the holidays, and then we got our annual predictions episode. Stay tuned for all that and more on That Kingsville Podcast. That Kingsville Podcast proudly brought to you by Kingsville Brewery. It's a jingle this year.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I do the same read every week.
Do we pay extra? Do they pay extra?
No, it's
No?
one of the many
Oh.
services we offer if you drink Kingsville Brewery beer. We had some on the holidays. It was delicious.
It brought us cheer.
It did. It brought us beery cheer.
Beer each year.
Yeah, didn't take your advice and decorate the house with the IPA and the Czech lager.
Yeah, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
you really missed an
I
opportunity.
didn't miss an opportunity. You know what? Holidays were short. It was fast paced. It was just shot out of a cannon. Away you go.
You know, can I tell you, and we'll talk about this during the full episode, went to Perry Sound, hanging out on the lake, doing some ice fishing, pounding some light A.
Oh,
Perfect spot.
It's delicious. Anytime. Go to kingsvillebrewery.com. Free delivery in Windsor, Essex County for all your delicious beer needs. Thanks again, Kingsville Brewery, for supporting That Kingsville Podcast.
Also pounding it because it was free.
Hey, it's us again. Welcome to That Kingsville Podcast. I know it's bright and cheery. You're just so happy to hear us. And as we were discussing in the intro, it's season 4.
4.
4.
Not 5.
Not 5.
Not and possibly still 3.
Math is not my strong suit, although it should be, but whatever. You're still here. Gary's here. Thanks, Gary.
Yep.
Happy New Year, everyone. Happy hey. Oh, we got the board up. Golly, love it. So yeah, holidays are over.
Holidays are over.
Now we're into the drudge of the winter, and it's here. It's cold for once.
Good holiday.
Great holiday. Yeah, did a little traveling with the family. Got to see some of the extended family and whatnot, and had quite the experience. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
You?
Was lucky enough to get invited up to a cottage in Perry Sound.
Mm-hmm.
Friends of ours, and they go up around just after New Year's every year, and so we got the invite this year. A blast, absolute blast.
Except for the drive
Yeah, the drive sucks.
to and from Paris. Steve, what'd you do?
Worked a lot,
Well,
which was good.
and that is a good
Congratulations!
Yes,
thing.
thank you. Yes.
Again, and to
But-
just
Oh.
you don't have to make comment if you don't need to because of your situation or your employer and whatnot. But I'm very glad that aside from the reason for why you're back at work, that everyone is back at work.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances that your employer is putting everything in and the union negotiation and whatnot, but nobody needs to be out of work during the holidays. So
Allegedly unrelated, can I just say Canada Post caused some significant delays for my family holiday calendars, which really upset my family. And I know that should be the one thing that everyone is concerned about when they're in the middle of not working and negotiations and trying to provide for their family over the holidays in a difficult labor situation. But it really irked me.
It was mentioned a couple of times on the picket line that Kevin Black's family calendars had to go out no matter what.
Right?
Along with, social security checks.
yeah,
They were second on the list.
medical records, like important identifying documentation like passports and licenses and health
Yeah,
cards.
No, the calendars.
Can I tell you about the calendars though?
Well, yes, please do.
We ended up getting them on time. Thank God.
We are off to a flyer this year, aren't we?
Well, worked out.
Jeez.
Really
Wow.
worked out.
And for all of you at home that want a Black Masternardi family calendar,
Yeah.
contact us here at the podcast, and Kevin will mail you one.
Yeah. Low cost of $15.99.
$15.99. Look at your family
Yeah.
every month of the year.
Buy 2, get free shipping.
It's marketing too.
Yeah. Hey.
But it was a good holiday.
Great. Yeah. No. Any ideas of significance or any items of significance other than just working?
No, just the days off, the stat holidays and the weekends were great.
Yeah.
Just family time, games, catch up, break from everything, school, swimming, and all the other fun stuff that's now well underway again.
Yeah. Which I think in my perspective, with the weather being so mild before the holidays and now being so cold, I'm almost anticipating Christmas coming. Right. Like it was fall up until
Yeah. It was balmy.
yeah. And, just seasonally feeling it. It didn't feel Christmassy, but whatever. We got lots of fun and excitement happening now that we're in January.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Now we had, right before the holiday, we had the new school in Kingsville had an open house. And not that your kids go there,
No.
maybe, yet or all. So you just sit this one out. Provide commentary if you
Okay.
just decide so. Steve and I went.
Yes.
I had to check out the building that was highly criticized for its naming convention and whatnot. So we figured, it'd be worth a while and just check it out.
Well, I will preface that.
And your wife works there.
I would not have gone. And I think, and I'm saying that because I think there's a lot of people with that mentality, but I would not have gone had my children not been performing. And they both were.
Yeah.
And I will start by saying that those that participated and were part of the grand opening, because that's what it was, a grand opening.
Correct.
Did a fantastic job. There was a choir assembled and it included teachers, staff members, students from both the elementary and secondary side. It was well done. The Minister of Education, the Honourable Jill Dunlop, was in attendance, brought remarks, as did our MPP, Anthony Liardi. Interestingly enough, I'll say it, and for those who did notice it, it was very apparent, and for those who didn't, it might come as a surprise, but neither one named their name to the school in their remarks, which I thought was, they recognized sort of the political landmine that
And
it has become.
That would, having been on the other side of those, that is 100% on purpose. That's not anyone that thinks that or is told that, well, yeah, but of course, like they're just remarks. No, every single word in those remarks are vetted significantly. That's a conscious decision.
And I will say, though, for a grand opening, I was disappointed overall. I don't want to take away from those that took part. I will, and the reason being, and I'll just a couple of key points. First of all, some classrooms were open, but there were a lot of dark, locked classrooms. Mm-hmm. Like, here's an opportunity to showcase this fantastic multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art school that still has unfinished baseboards, but to a lot of people or to anyone who's interested. And I think that the ball was slightly dropped there. Yes, you had the choirs I mentioned and the bands performing, but a few weeks prior they held an arts night, and this was extremely well done. They had the dance team performed. They had student artwork in the gymnasium. Yep. They didn't have that at the grand opening. I'm not saying do the arts night as part of the grand opening. I'm saying include that. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that there were some sports teams playing away that night, but there were still athletes from an earlier sports team that could have taken part and come in Cougar, or I keep saying Cougar, that's Gosford North, sorry. Coyote, I'm not used to it. I'm really not used to it. But when you've got the Gosford North Cougars and the Cardinal Carter Cougars, and every time I hear a hard C, I'm like, no, sorry, Coyotes. What?
The 3 C's.
Yeah, no, sorry. But you've got...
Are there Panthers anywhere? Can we get a CCCP? No.
No. Anyway. We've got Okay, I'll let Dave.
No, you're good.
No, but you could have had athletes coming in and showcasing, that you could have, and then I will say on the elementary side.
What, first, I just want
Point of clarification.
why wouldn't they just schedule those games another night?
No, you can't. You can't.
What? Really?
You can't
It's the Minister of Education is at your school. You can't reschedule an away game.
No.
Okay.
It's difficult for transportation, for logistics, for officials,
Scheduling.
It's
right.
yes. You could, and it,
Okay.
It's it was only 2 teams.
You know what they could schedule differently? The grand opening.
Well, and maybe it was just based on when the minister could attend.
Fair.
The other point I want to make is the elementary school is very meh. And again, there was.
So I'm going to give them a pass, and I have that same initial assessment of the school. It's very plain, and I think that that's for a reason, right? I don't think that it's going to stay like that in perpetuity. I think it's a matter of they got to figure out how to coexist in the building. It's fresh. September to mid-December, not a lot of time to do the decorating, to do the flavor of the building, right? The other schools, we had the benefit of decades of usage, different art installations, different paint colors, different things like that. I think because of the elementary side and the mix of the new teacher, coworker situation and figuring out how everything's got to work together, probably a reason why it was meh.
Yeah, but here's an opportunity to say, okay, and I am not going to criticize staff members who weren't there because you're asking them to give up, their personal time,
their lives.
That being said, this is a huge event, and there are a lot of staff members who give a lot back to the school, but there were a lot that don't. But there was to me a real lack of representation across the board.
Well, no, the board was there.
Oh, well done. But for that gymnasium to be, if I'd be interested to know that if you took the parents and supporters of anyone who was performing out of that gymnasium, how many people actually showed up?
Yeah.
Because it was the grand opening. And I think a lot of it, and I'll go out on a limb on this one, but I think a lot of it is just simply apathy towards the way the community was treated, going back to the whole naming of the school. I just, and if you want to create a vibe and create a culture, a grand opening is a great way to do that and to really, really start something. The atrium in that building, in the secondary portion, is beautiful. Mm-hmm. The classrooms, they're nice.
Cafeteria was
well
great.
lit. Don't do that.
Oh,
don't.
It's easy. It's easy.
Right, but that's old.
Old hat.
The gymnasium looks great.
It does.
Actually, both gymnasiums look great. Like, I don't want this to be all negative, but I think for a grand opening that overall the ball was dropped on this event.
And we also have the closing of KDHS to kind of contrast against it, right? There's decades of graduating students that went through that came back to say a final goodbye, right? And the expectation, I think, is that the formulation of a new school would create a new environment and a new excitement within town. And your assessment of the sentiment of apathy is probably pretty succinct, right?
Well, I think a lot, and I can only speak as a family that's children attends Catholic schools. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So completely outside of the conversation, really. But I can tell you, my daughter was excited to go to the school until the school was built, and now wants nothing to do with going to the school. And it's down the road from us. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a lot of people now, and rightly or wrongly, just feel like it was the school we were saddled with, and no one is really excited that it's there.
Yeah. Who knows? Only time will tell as students populate it, go through, graduate, experience it, and it develops its...
Yeah, and I'm not saying this isn't going to be a good thing. I'm not saying that there's not going to be a culture and there's not going to be a real pride in the school, because you can see it developing a little bit. There was grade 9 day today, and my daughter took part, and I saw some of the pictures, and you can see that it's getting there as far as that end goes. I was just speaking specifically to what was a grand opening with some high-ranking political officials there that could have been a lot more than it was.
Yeah. Well, we did have CTV News. They came out. They did a thing, right? I honestly,
I didn't see the clip, but I know the Windsor Star was there, but I don't know that they really did much on the actual event. Like there's other stories there, obviously connected with publicboard.ca and stuff going on there. So
How was the traffic?
it was easy.
well, at that time of the night, sure.
No, but even pulling in, like, it was pretty efficient. Like, and parking wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Like that just, no, but I'm saying that because that speaks to how, I don't want to say poorly attended, but
Sparse.
Yeah.
it was like that to me, for a grand opening of a school where there's that many students going, that gymnasium should have been full.
packed. Yeah, it should have been.
And I don't know if it wasn't promoted well enough or whatever. I'm just,
Maybe they're concerned about occupancy.
anyway.
It would have haven't had part of its satellite at Jack Minor Public School. Oh, righty then. Well, yeah, so that's out of the way. And right after our last episode that we recorded, council...
Like the next day.
The next day. We did disclose that in the last episode. The council was going to be doing some budget deliberations, and guess what? It passed.
Yeah.
They
I'm shocked.
budget. And I don't think that there was much that they pulled out.
No, they changed the allocation for police wages was amended because of some provincial funding that's coming through.
Correct. Yeah.
And that was the change.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically, for all intents and purposes, approved as presented.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we reached out to Mayor Dennis Rogers for comment. Wasn't available. I'm sure things are getting going again here in the new year, but I'm curious to hear what council's interpretation is of how this went and what that will mean for 2025 and how they see certain initiatives and certain priorities coming to fruition.
I'll give admin full credit.
Yeah.
To put through a budget and have it passed by 7 people in one day must be a damn good budget. Or, to me, that council isn't doing their job effectively.
Well, we gave Ryan McLeod and administration credit for that budget.
I agree.
I think he's doing a great job with regards to balancing within reason. Right? There's things that we do have to make expenses towards for future planning, growth, and development, and there's need to haves because it's an immediate need. And it's always the battle of where does the money come from, and how do you balance that without pissing somebody off or taking away from something that really does need it. So it's.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, to pass a budget, like, I don't know. It almost seems unheard of up until these last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember them ever going through that quickly. Kingsville always was kind of drawn out previously, like longer than a lot of the other towns that I would cover.
I agree with that. I know that sometimes you would have 3 deliberations.
Yeah,
and they were long days.
Yeah, and which I think was way too much the other way. I think administration did a great job selling council that there was nothing that they could do, and council decided to agree with administration that there was nothing they can do, and approved it. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. I mean, you hire administration to hopefully give you good advice, and administration said yes.
All right.
Now there are still, and we raised questions about the budget, and so one of them that was addressed during budget deliberations, they did talk about the intersection at Woodycrest and Jasperson, talking about the school. They didn't actually change any of the spending allocations that are listed in the capital budget, but did say that they would be holding off on that spending pending a traffic engineer's not study, but look at it. And they do have a budget line in there already for a traffic engineer to come and, quote, look at intersections in the municipality. So
is that usually how intersections are evaluated, by
looking at them?
looking at them?
I mean, usually you would have a study.
I mean, that's how I do it.
Right.
But I'm not an engineer.
So
I am, but not that kind.
so it's funny that you bring up the cafeteria, and I know we were joking about it, but there is, and it should be pointed out, there is money that will be paid through property taxes to fund additional staff at the arena to allow school kids to be able to go there and eat, and that's arena staff being paid by property tax dollars to allow private business inside the arena to serve children because the school board didn't use our taxes to put in a cafeteria. So instead of public board taxes paying for a cafeteria, now all board taxes, property taxes will be used to pay for a person to allow a private business to earn more cash. So and again, not a whole lot. It wasn't overly significant. I think it was to the tune of a part-timer at about $30,000 to $40,000. But that's not insignificant too. And it seemed like that wasn't even a discussion point. The fact that you are increasing arena staff to pay to allow the public board their deficiencies. And then, of course, there was major capital projects that got approved without a whole lot of discussion, which normally that would have been a day of deliberation. But again, kudos to administration. Like, they did put forward a good budget, and council agreed. So I guess, like, kudos to everyone. Congratulations, you
did a thing.
You increased taxes by 3%. Great job. Now, and we should point out, and it was quickly corrected on social media. However, there were some people that clearly are not great at those math problems that go around on Facebook, where it's like, 3 times 3 divide by 3 bracket equation to the power of 2. And some people, I guess, don't understand that you don't add a percentage to another percentage, and then the sum of those two numbers is the percentage.
Yeah. No, because it's weighted, right? I mean, the municipality would be maybe 60% of your overall levy, and the county's 30, and the education said, like, those aren't the actual numbers, but
no, it's 52, 10, 48, 38, and so not far off. And so when the county passed a budget levy of increase of 3.7%, and the town passed a budget levy increase of 3.5%, that does not equal 7% increase.
7.2.
Right.
That equals 3.61% increase. Which is what the total increase is on your property tax. So also, I have to say that I'm a little suspect of people on social media that profess to be experts in municipal policy when they can't understand the way that budgets are computed.
Yeah.
That's worrying.
Yeah, there was a lot of let's call it heated reaction and some alarmist kind of posting. We've seen it in the groups, right? It's easy.
Steve hasn't.
Steve doesn't on it. Yeah, you are the smart one. Honestly, nobody looks at the Facebook anymore. It's kind of done, right? Like, honestly, there's nothing really significant on it.
Can I wish it away? I would love it to go away.
Yeah, but then how would people find that Kingsville podcast on YouTube? Like and subscribe.
You just said it on YouTube.
It's a redirect.
Yeah, but we don't even need the...
I know we don't need the Facebook. It's just whatever. How will my mom see my dog's pictures? I don't know.
You're right. You're right.
But
I'm going to correct it and say it's a cat.
I've noticed as well, there is a very quick reactionary kind of, I don't know, I would call it an expletive, crap posting out there where people just throw out a sensational thing to get reaction and get people all fired up. And then you watch all the people like lemmings corral around that and feel that that's
How could it be 10%? They were saying 10%. How could it be 10%? Well, it's not.
It's not 10%.
Not 10%.
It's 10%. You'd go bankrupt in 10 years because if that was the annual, like, oh, my taxes
well, if you
have doubled.
If you want a nice recreation center like the Atlas Tube Recreation Center, then ask the town of Lakeshore about their 10% increase the year it opened.
Which was a actual 10%.
Factual and actual.
Mm-hmm. So anyhow, enough of that. There is more council news. Now we're getting back into the new year, and they've already posted their agenda items that they're up for discussion, and Committee Dave's back. They're discussing building height limits in the downtown core. So there's
before we begin,
knock yourself out.
This topic, want to strongly declare a pecuniary interest in this topic. I have delegated to council and am on the record as being against having above 4 stories in the outside zone. I am specifically impacted. And also would like to remind people that we are not the news.
We are not the news.
We are page 6. We are your columnists.
Yeah.
We are not your front page reporters.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that reminder, Kevin. I should have done that at the beginning of the episode. If you think that what we're saying is actual news, boy, oh boy. Great.
Not the news.
But not the news.
Not the news.
Like
we're the people in the opinion section.
Not even that. We're just some guys that are hanging out in a wonderful studio provided by Gary.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
I'll tell you, though, I've seen some of the places that the people in the opinion section work out of, and this is much nicer.
I wouldn't doubt it. But we also...
Did you ever see Steve's closet?
Yeah, you did work in a bit of a closet, the reporter. It was your closet, though.
Didn't bother me.
It was nice. It's a gym now.
I made it work.
Hey, yeah, again, nothing against that. But we are also, acutely aware of things that are going on, and with you guys being journalists and whatnot, hey.
Former.
Yeah. Still are. We're never taking that away from you guys, okay? Just because you're not functioning as that role doesn't mean you're still not journalists.
We are commentating.
Commentators, right. We are having a social commentary about things.
Sometimes people don't like it.
Social commentary.
And things I don't like, 6 stories in urban sprawling edges of town.
Edges of town, yeah. So they want to look to go from 4 stories to 6 stories through the Main Street corridor. So they've labeled, if you go to the Kingsville.ca site, you can find the thing and then bring it up. And they've got a lovely little map starting, I guess, from east to west. They call it the Main Street Gateway East, which is basically from the winery to Weigel, right? And then Main Street Neighborhood, Weigel to, I don't know, that would be, that's Spruce. Spruce, yeah. So,
then Catholic churches?
But then they have it kind of surrounding the downtown core as well. So they've got the Main Street core in there, but so technically from like Green Hill Cemetery Road, Green Hill Cemetery is just
Green Hill.
Green Hill, thank you. To Weigel. That's what they call the Main Street neighborhood. And then from Green Hill, we got the valley, the gully, and then it picks up and around that new heritage kind of ring road proposal area. That's Main Street Gateway West. So they want to go from 4 stories to 6 stories in the outlying area. So there's a thing. Yeah. Throughout the Main Street corridor, with exception of Main Street core. So without being in the core area of downtown. So they want to put up big buildings everywhere else, but
in the core.
Downtown. Yeah. Which they don't want to host events in because, that's where all the people have to be accessible all the time. So.
Right. So we're going to put we're going to intensify development in gateways, and we're going to limit development in core areas.
The amendments respond to legislative and policy changes that require municipalities to support increased intensification where complete communities can be best achieved, where existing services exist, where access to commercial and community services is easily facilitated within walkable distances, and where a range and mix of housing options can be provided.
And so you wanted to tell me, Dave and Steve, can you guys think of a perfect example of a complete community in one of our neighboring towns? A complete what Kingsville is working to achieve. Can you think of an example of that already happening somewhere?
It's to the east.
To the east.
To the east.
The apartment towers, Freshco, Canadian Tire, Walmart is the quote unquote complete community that the town administration is working to get to. And that development destroyed downtown or uptown Leamington.
Among a couple of other things, but yes, by not concentrating on keeping your downtown as the thriving, hub of the community, yes. Yeah, there was a lot of other factors that went into it, but yes, by urban sprawling everything out and pushing the densification outward, stretches a town and alienates the core.
You know where someone that lives in an apartment building, and they're not condos, they're apartment buildings, they're for rent. Mm-hmm. You know where someone that lives in an apartment building that lives near fast food restaurants is going to go eat? Because they're not going downtown.
No.
And anyone who owns a business downtown, a restaurant, if they're any type of convenience food style of restaurant, they are not going to get business.
In fact, all the continued development for restaurants are around those buildings out in the outlying section.
Right.
So you're saying like if you build these towers and you put a Walmart there, it's a lot easier to buy clothes there than some of the great fun places like
exactly
Pinstripes or My Cousin's Closet,
right?
Town Emporium.
Yeah. What if they open a Kelsey's? Mm-hmm. Then why do I go to Bandit?
Yeah. Why
the food's just better and the atmosphere is better.
Right, but
it's across the road.
We're talking about walkable distances. Again, like this is the verbiage. Right? And I am sorry. I'm going to go back to all the ActDev and whatever I did. And the formulation of a solid town and solid development is concentrating on keeping your core the livelihood of town, right? That's why the whole proposal about Kingsville Public School and creating more, mixed, let's call it mixed use, but put that building up there where people can live and work in the core. Have it in the core. Look at, would Toronto be Toronto if all those buildings were spread out through the entire square acreage of the city of Toronto? No, they're all in the downtown core for a reason. That's how you densify.
That's how you densify.
Well, how you densify.
I'll play devil's advocate a little bit.
Go ahead.
Okay. I will agree with you on the former KPS property. Makes sense to build and build around there. But I don't know that the restaurants and other businesses would be necessarily impacted in a sense of, if you're building 6 towers and you're putting a Kelsey's there, not everyone in that building is going to go to Kelsey's. They're still going to go elsewhere. And if you look at our downtown, the businesses, the restaurants particularly, they draw a lot of people from outside of town. So to the point, I mean, it's totally valid, especially based on what we've seen in other communities. But I would also think that if you're bringing in more people, which you would be with 6-story buildings, you're going to have to provide more opportunities to eat and buy stuff.
Can I counterpoint you?
Yes.
So that development happens further outside of the core. All of that future development that you're speaking about more is outside of the core because it's now convenient around those new structures. You're pushing just like Leamington did.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as Erie South began their development beyond the old Zellers, right? The Zellers used to be the boundary, and the rest of Erie South was just fields and, whatever have you. But as soon as Walmart got built and Canadian Tire got rebuilt, and that then created an area of people to collect, and they didn't need to go downtown anymore. And then those buildings went up on Seacliff, and then people just stay down there because there's nothing. So those buildings go vacant. And then they can't find renters that go in there because I can't pull any consumer base because nobody's traveling uptown. And then you have the state of flux where you take any renter that can, fill my space because I got this building that I've got and I need rent. So, hey, fly by night, whatever, convenience store, vape shop, whatever it is, pops in there because I need to pay the bills. I need a renter. Secondly, every time that one of those structures goes up and then they have the support structures, those are box stores, right? They're not structures of significance. They're disposable. Like take a look at any not convenience store, any grocery store, any mall, strip mall, whatever. We got them all over Windsor. They were there to facilitate that public blah, blah, blah. But as soon as the economy changes, as soon as, hey, we don't shop in brick and mortar anymore, we buy on Amazon, those buildings go vacant and they don't get torn down and turned into valuable things. Those property holders still try to keep them afloat. They fall into disrepair. Then they create, Halloween, whatever.
Spirit
Halloweens, right? It never ends up to be reaping the fruit that everybody says it is. There are enough cases within the province, let alone, the nation, that show how a downtown core is the way that you build a community correctly. And that starts with how do we house the people for the growth that we're going to experience properly.
I guess Leamington is a good example, but two probably better examples, simply Windsor and London.
Fair. Absolutely. Chatham even.
London's downtown is
terrible.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. And I mean, it's on a much larger scale, but you can see in Windsor the movement of the businesses that are successful out of downtown to Walkerville. It killed the downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also, there's also a counterpoint to this. This kind of a stipulation about allowing business heights and changing where it is not the way that development happens. Like the opportunities to build and grow is usually on a vacant field, right? And if we aren't fostering or incentivizing or trying to do the proper development in the core, then all of that development is just going to generically happen all haphazardly all over the place. Because we're like, hey, there's a field here, there's a field there. All right, throw up a gigantic building, away it goes. We got the space. Here we are. Instead of being strategic and figuring out, all right, now we are already landlocked in our downtown core, right? We have all the houses and residences and buildings and whatnot. Where's the opportunity to densify there? What do we have as an option that we can concentrate on putting it back into that rather than just allowing any other development to just happen haphazardly outside?
Did either of you read the report in detail?
I did.
So it's okay. So I did for us. You're welcome. So
pecuniary interest.
Pecuniary interest. So there are a couple interesting arguments in there that Richard Wyma, the director, is making in the report, and one of them is that they were forced to settle at the OLT over the 183 Main 6-story, and that's one reason this needs to come forward. Which I think it's important to point out that the 183 Main allowance of 6 stories happened before the passing of this.
Correct.
It wasn't part of or caught up in this decision, and so the discussions, the council's decision to not allow that 6-story to continue to be built and force it to 4 stories was actually going against the decision and contracts that they had already signed with 183 Main, which is why they were forced to reach a settlement at the Ontario Land Tribunal. The other is that they're anticipating that because they allowed the Valenti buildings, that they would be forced to acquiesce to developers in the other areas that are looking to build. And I would argue, I think they're probably right in the Main Street neighborhood section, but not in the Main Street gateway section. Because any planner knows that you don't put your largest the most density in the edges of your town. Like that's completely against any planning standards. You put the density downtown. You don't put density on the edges of your town. It's stupid. And again, pecuniary interest. And then but then lastly, and where I do think that council is in, and speaking to a counselor about it, I think they feel that they're in a position where they have to approve this. Yeah. And I do agree with them that they're in a position that they probably have to agree with this, but only because their administration has come out saying that they do. And now this document can be held up at the Ontario Land Tribunal to say the administration even says this is something that should happen. And so administration has now made the decision for council, and council is going to have to agree with it because they put this forward. And I don't care how fast administration is able to walk from downtown to the edge of town. It's not a walkable area. You people from that are living in Gateway West are not walking into the core.
No. Nor are Gateway East walking into the core.
Nor are Gateway East walking into the core.
It's us in the neighborhood and those, a couple of blocks outside of that. And that's it.
So it'll be interesting to hear the debate and hear council try to make excuses for why they're going to be approving this. But reality is that they've, in my pecuniary opinion, they've now been painted into a corner by their administration. And I wonder how much of this is a conversation that happened because the developers were so upset that the town administration was limiting their ability to develop. Now we're seeing an overcorrection where they're saying, well, here's something that council said that we should do. We never thought it should have happened in the first place. We'll write a report saying it never should have happened. And they basically spell that out in the report. And then it'll force them to have to change it.
So I want to make one other observation and point of discussion. Much as I've described, and I encourage everybody to go to the Kingsville website, pull up this map. But there was one thing that stood out on the map that didn't make sense to me. So, if we go right to left, we see that all of the distinct areas are kind of side by side, and with everything in the Main Street neighborhood kind of encompassing the core. However, just north of the Main Street Gateway East, there's a chunk of land that's classified as neighborhoods, but it is segregated from the rest of the neighborhoods. It's along Jasperson to Applewood and Cherrywood, right? So Applewood to Cherrywood is now classified on the east side of the road, is classified as neighborhoods. So is that telling of something that, there's a potential development that is going to occur there, and this is really what we're wanting to concentrate on?
Well, I know someone who used to reside on Jasperson, sold their place because they were told that eventually there was going to be a road going through there.
Yeah.
So...
And there's been many different proposals in the past, right, where the WFCU building is, the condo building that was, 9 stories initially?
10 stories.
10 stories. There was the Canadian Tire proposal behind there. If we're clearing the way and if we're opening up the door for this kind of, future development, are we really being strategic? And are we being strategic, conveniently strategic, or are we being strategic for a certain purpose?
Well, it sure seems like we're trying to rebuild the south end of Leamington.
Precisely. And, I think there's the development is inevitable. Growth is inevitable. For all the naysayers are like, we want to keep our small town. It's not here anymore. You got to move if that's your sentiment. You can't get hell bent over it. change happens. Everything develops, everything grows. Either it grows for the benefit or it grows to the detriment. And, like you could be Leamington or you can help do Kingsville the right way. Or you can take lessons learned and understand, hey, how things can be done and accept the fact that I have to accept change. And yeah, there's going to be some things that are, bigger than the buildings that are there existing, but hey, they're in the right place. So it isn't affecting me, right? It isn't affecting me because the development is done where it should be done. And I remind everyone that if we take our hands off the wheel, what's the biggest building in the middle of town that everybody criticizes? Right?
Yeah.
The apartment building at the Four Corners. That's what happens when nobody pays attention to what's being done.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Anyway, we got one more thing to get to this episode.
I will say,
pecuniary interest.
Interesting that that we're going to be voting now to intensify development in the East End, but we're still arguing that we don't need signal lights on Jasper 6. Just saying.
Oy vey. I'm going to put that away. We got one more thing to do. It's predictions.
Ooh.
Steve, I love this segment because I try to remember what I picked last year, and I hope that I at least got one.
Okay, you did.
Yeah!
Okay, so 2024, college basketball. Winner was UConn. Kevin said Kentucky. Dave said Gonzaga. I said Purdue, so we all failed. NFL ended up being the Chiefs over the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
None of us got that. Two of us picked Baltimore. One of us picked the Niners.
Yeah.
NBA, Kevin had Denver. Dave, you and I had Milwaukee. It was Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley Cup, Kevin had the Leafs. I had the Jets. And Dave had the Panthers. Well done, Dave.
Beep, beep, beep.
Major League
Dave wins in
Baseball.
hockey.
I did the least. Thank you.
Major League Baseball. Dave took Texas. Kevin and I took the Dodgers. Dodgers won. Woo. Federal election. Kevin said no. Dave and I both said yes. Kevin got that one.
Hey, guess what? Please ask that question this year.
Euro Cup. No, I didn't include it because we all know it's going to happen. Kevin had Croatia.
Can we ask though which will come first?
Yeah, absolutely.
What, the federal or provincial?
Yeah.
We can do that. Euro Cup. Kevin had Croatia. Dave had Italy. I had England, who lost the final to Spain.
Yeah.
Summer Olympics.
Well,
Kevin went over 30 medals. Dave and I went under 30. Canada had 27.
Hey, I got two.
So close.
I got two.
We did go over personal highlights of 2023 or things that really stood out. Dave mentioned the summer storm.
Yeah.
And I can't read what I wrote for Kevin and I.
Yeah, stuff.
So here we are.
Words.
Yeah,
They were
shorthand.
2025. We'll start with college football because we're down to 4. Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas.
First, I love the new format.
I do too.
That's not a question.
It's actually worthwhile watching now.
Yeah, agreed.
Go ahead.
All right. Give me a picks.
I'm going to go Penn State.
Texas.
Dave, I hope you're right. Because I don't really care for the other three. I'm going to go Notre Dame.
No, and
Only because I just read something about what the coach, Freeman, is it?
Yeah.
The coach, that really kind of, it was a cool little story. So anyway, college basketball. I haven't been following this at all.
Not at all.
I don't know anything.
Tennessee.
Okay.
Have you been following it? Is that an educated guess?
No.
Kevin.
Going with orange and white teams.
BYU.
I just put Michigan State.
Brigham Young, Michigan
I don't
State.
know.
Oh boy.
What do we want to do next? NBA? NBA.
NBA. I'm going to go Boston. I think they're going to repeat.
Miami.
I don't even know who's doing what. Cleveland. Actually,
Yeah,
Cleveland, they're
They look
doing
good
really
this year,
well.
Yeah.
Let's go to NHL. Kevin, we know.
You're going to die hard pick that again?
He always does.
I have to. I can't help it. They're leading these right now. So.
You know what? I'm actually going to go with it. I don't know why. I've never done it, and I hate to do it, but I'm going to go with your pick on this one.
Huh.
Well,
Okay.
You're picking the Leafs.
He just picked the Leafs.
I just picked the lead. I don't
lead
know.
red, white.
I do, but I have a bad feeling. So I think I'm gonna.
Aye.
So why?
The Lightning.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
I'm picking the other Florida team.
Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to argue against the Dodgers again.
Yeah.
They're just so loaded. Mets, Yankees, like these teams who can just spend.
Exactly. You spend all the money.
yeah.
I'll go Mets.
I'm gonna go Yankees.
I'll go Dodgers. And we'll all hope it's the Tigers or Jays.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so
won't be a Toronto.
NFL, we're going to go game by game real quick. So we have Minnesota at the Rams.
Rams.
Really?
Yep.
I'm gonna take Minnesota, but I tend to agree with you. But I'm gonna take Minnesota because I think they'll eke it out.
Okay, I'm taking the Rams just because of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Washington at Tampa Bay.
Tampa.
I like Washington.
Kevin's going for the road teams.
Fine.
Yeah.
Green Bay at Philadelphia.
Oh, it's Philly all day.
Green Bay.
No way.
I knew Dave was going to do this. I knew, and I have a hard time. I'll go Philly. Denver at Buffalo.
Buffalo. Hey ho, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Chargers at Houston.
Oh, so this is the one that is equally, in my opinion, can go both ways. I think the Chargers.
That's what I've got.
Yeah.
I'll go different. I'll go Houston.
Honestly, it's going to be a good game.
Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Baltimore.
I like the Steelers.
Lamar Jackson's going to be the MVP of the league.
I know, but
They got a defense that's like, okay, go on.
I don't know.
Sorry for all of our female.
I think Russell Wilson might just maybe.
He's got one left in the tank.
I think he's got one. I think he's got one left.
All
And
right.
Sean Payton.
So I don't know if we can do this
Or no,
really
not
quick
Sean
and figure it out, but based on these picks,
Okay.
give me your conference finalists. So Kevin, you would have.
Oh, AFC and NFC conference finalists.
So Kevin would have Detroit against Washington. No. Yes, sorry. Detroit, Washington, Philly, Minnesota. So who's the two out of there? Detroit, Washington.
Well, Detroit and Philly.
So Dave, you would have Detroit and the Rams,
Got
Green Bay, Tampa.
And Tampa. So
wait, who's the low seed? Green Bay?
Green Bay. would be
Green
the
Bay.
low seed.
So it'd be
Yeah.
Detroit, Green Bay.
Detroit, Green Bay. So Detroit, and then it'd be Tampa versus
The Rams.
the Rams. So Tampa.
Okay, so it's
Ooh.
Dave. It's Kevin. So then I would have Detroit, Rams, Philly, Tampa.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Detroit, Tampa. I don't know. Tampa winning at Philly.
Mhm.
Kevin,
Detroit.
Dave.
Same.
Okay, so in the
We are such,
AFC,
we are such homers.
15
know.
and 2. It's
I know. Best time
never
of
seen
my
it.
life.
Yes,
Sports.
exactly. Okay, so NFC, KC, Kevin, you would have KC, Pittsburgh,
KC.
And
Yeah.
Buffalo, Houston.
Yep. KC and Buffalo.
Dave,
I would have the same.
and I would have KC, Chargers, Buffalo, Baltimore.
Yeah.
I'm going to go KC, Baltimore. Baltimore. KC or Buffalo, Dave?
Buffalo.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you two have got Detroit, Buffalo. I've got Detroit, Baltimore.
Mhm.
Who's winning the Super Bowl, boys?
Oh.
I hate to say this. I hate to say this.
Dave's got Detroit.
I got Detroit.
I've got Detroit. Kevin's got Buffalo, or does he have Detroit?
Honestly, you know what? As much of a Lion fan I am, if Buffalo beats us and it's close, I'm just as happy. Buffalo does like
Making
they're-
it is the next step as a Lions fan,
but they're a great team too.
In that game, I think it all comes back to because Aiden Hutchinson will be back
He won't.
for the Super Bowl. Oh, absolutely, he will. They'll fill him full of drugs. And,
What? Give him a robot leg?
yeah.
Okay.
But the question will be, can he sack anyone
Right.
on a robot leg?
Nah. Well,
So
right,
Kevin,
and
who's
that's-
it going to be, Detroit or Buffalo?
I'm gonna say Detroit, but that's a trouble game for them. But if Hutchinson is if he returns is anywhere remotely to pressuring Josh Allen, then Buffalo's done.
Mm-hmm.
Politics.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's going to be a federal election. It's
You don't say.
the odds. I wouldn't say the odds are there's going to be provincial, but it has been discussed about moving it up this year as opposed to next year.
Yep.
Do we have a provincial election this year?
No.
I think we do.
I was leaning towards that, but I'm thinking with all the hullabaloo going on stateside and Ford really stepping up to his credit, I'm going to say no. I think we actually need Doug Ford to be doing what he's doing, so I'm going to say no as well. But
you're going to say that in the moment where he's going to seem like he's most needed, he's not going to call an election.
I think the stability is necessary. I know what you're saying. Like, this is where his ratings are going to be at the highest. Boom, you're in, right? You'll probably take another 20 seats. It'll be like 5 NDP and 3 Liberal and Mike Schreiner. But I don't know. I think it would be a gamble.
Okay. I think there will be for sure. I honestly, and can we do the other question now?
Sorry. Yes. So based...
Yeah. Go. No,
please.
No. The other question is more relevant. So go.
So if it happens, is it provincial or federal first?
I think provincial first.
Okay.
I think we and don't hold me to this specifically, but I'm thinking provincial in like beginning of May and federal in like September.
One bold prediction for 2025. I didn't give you this one. I didn't tell you that I was going to do this.
Oh, wait. Are you going to do the before or after?
I think, I didn't get.
Sorry.
I didn't get to say before.
Because you didn't think there was going to be one.
Well,
okay. Let's assume there is one.
Assuming there is one.
Sorry, my fault.
It'll be federal before provincial, assuming there is one. But I don't think there will be.
Bold prediction for 2025 can be related to national, international politics, local politics, town itself, nothing political at all. Is there anything you think could happen this year or want to see happen this year? Could be simply we're still not going to have a curling club in Kingsville, or
well, that's that one's low hanging fruit.
I think, I truly believe this, I think this is going to be the year that we find out whether or not there is alien life.
That's actually, you know what, not half bad. It's crazy that the aliens follow the Gregorian calendar and observe the fact that we have 12 months.
100%. You got it. I think roughly they'll arrive. No, and now I'm not saying aliens are going to show up, but I do think that this will be the year that somehow we figure out that there's microbes of something somewhere.
Sure. You know what? Honestly, it's not that far-fetched. We got a lot of space exploration. I think a full-scale war outside of the current war zones is going to start. Outside of what is currently engaged in warfare. Caused by aliens coming down.
That's an awful one.
That's an awful.
It isn't. You said
no.
I'm
not saying it's an awful prediction. Yeah. Like, I'm saying, like, it could. The fact of the matter is, it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it really could happen, and that's the awful part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fact.
Yeah, it's not a prediction that I'm happy that I think is going to happen. I just think that there's a global climate and a lot of contention out there right now that, you know, it's a powder keg.
Well, you've got 3 or 4 leaders internationally that really want to take over the world.
Piping off, which is why I'm saying what I'm saying. Anyway, go on, Steve, your turn.
To be honest, I just wanted to throw this out there to see what you guys could
we can do that off camera. Steve said some stuff. We're not going to say this stuff. What's other stuff, Steve?
I don't know.
Giant wildfire in California.
Which is
scary.
Devastating. there's so much turmoil. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say by September, Kevin's stomach will be fed. The world will be righted.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's on an axis, right? So it's like spinning at a tilt. It's just going to go.
No.
It'll be lefted?
No.
Will no longer be lefted.
No. We'll be... There's going to be enough people to say, no, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. This has got to stop. Okay. That's my bold... It's
a social
uprising.
Right. Or
if you will.
Upheaval.
I think we have gone so far left.
Yeah, the pendulum swing.
So far right that it's either going to happen as Dave says, and
I didn't say where.
No. But
yep,
a lot of right. But I think there's going to be enough people to say, "Hey, listen, yeah, we don't agree, but we've got to find some common ground because otherwise, this whole planet's done."
Again, according to the Gregorian calendar, September is what you said?
I'll give it 8 months.
All right, sure.
It's more of a hope and a pipe dream than anything else.
I have one.
Oh, Gary's got one.
Steve's going to fall and rip his postal pants at some point.
That's a great one.
It fell on Monday.
And did you rip your pants?
No.
Okay, so there's still time. There's still time.
Hey, how was this the first walk?
Wasn't bad.
Yeah?
Wasn't bad. I walked quite a bit during picketing. Like we would kind of stretch the picket line a little bit and venture out. But no, I think I've lost some of my picket weight though, which has been nice. Because I have to say, not everyone agrees with labor disputes and work stoppages and everything like that. But the number of people that stopped and brought us food, showed support, was appreciated. There's one local business owner in town. Can I name people? Can I do that? Or I don't want to leave anyone out.
It's your show too, Steve. Go right ahead.
But like somebody like Ted Rochlow would show up with crock pots of soup for people on the picket line. There were a number of people that showed up with just the takeaway coffees from Tim Hortons or other local businesses, McDonald's, stuff like that. That was greatly appreciated. People on the picket line brought food too, but it was, I guess I've only been a union member for a few years, and being on the picket line, this is something new to me. And when people, there was a few people who would yell things at us or, weren't happy with us, and you take it in stride.
I need my coupons!
Yeah. But, it was interesting. And
where's the garbage calendar?
Yeah.
well, that doesn't start till February the 1st.
I still have time.
Yeah, they're coming.
Well, I think it's important for people to remember, too, that the reason that we have year-long mat leave in this country is because of a postal strike. Yeah. It was part of negotiations, and it ended up spreading to the entire nation. And so there's been tangible change that have happened in our society due specifically to Canada Post strikes.
Yeah. And the overarching thing is we're all people. Like, we're all humans. And it's nice to hear that.
Unless there are aliens.
Well, they're still coming. They're on their way, right? They're like somewhere in the Orion's belt.
They're going to come and right the world.
Reptile people. They're coming from below.
Does that still count?
They're in the earth.
Does that still count as aliens?
Yeah, they're not alien to us.
Well, yeah, okay. So if reptile people show up from the earth, does my bold prediction hold?
Sure, they're not from here.
All right, I can't wait to say I told
they've
you
been
so.
Dormant for a long time. It's like, hey, is that lizard talking to me? And then it eats my face off.
Weird.
Golly, welcome back to that Kingsville podcast. I'm your host, Dave. That's Kevin the alien.
We got weird.
We got real weird. Thanks for listening. We're so excited to do this season.
What is in this cup?
I don't know, but boy, oh boy, you are thinking extraterrestrially. But yeah, thank you everyone again for liking, subscribing. Please spread the word through the holidays, and some of the people that I did encounter, and we do from time to time. Appreciate some of the things that we talk about. Again, not the news, but being able to provide some commentary and some discussion around some stuff that happens in the town of Kingsville.
Food for thought.
Food for thought.
Yeah, we're like a brain grocery store.
Located on the
That's very
outskirts of town. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
People bananas.